Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Julie Muyllaert, and welcome to the Methow. It's great to have you all here for your annual meeting. If you've yet to discover this about folks in the Methow, we all wear many, many hats. So I'm going to take off my long-term recovery hat for a moment and put on my Winthrop Chamber of Commerce hat and give you an extra special welcome. We love having you here for your annual meeting. We hope that you get out and enjoy Winthrop and the beautiful Methow Valley. So my other hat, beyond my full-time job and my other volunteer jobs, is that I have served as the treasurer for Methow Valley Long-Term Recovery, as well as the board president for Okanogan Long-Term Recovery Group. As many of you know, in 2014, a lightning strike ignited a fire just north of Winthrop. And that fire, combined with other fires, over the next couple of days, to become a fire of historic proportions here in the Methow Valley and in Okanogan County. In the days that followed, amongst all of our community response, 60 diverse community leaders came together in a dark, hot room because we had no electricity, we had no phones, we had no cell service, we had no internet. So we were doing a lot of meeting at the post office, on street corners, and just passing news by word of mouth. So we came together and we began organizing. We began talking about how we were going to organize directly in response to the fire, to the Carlton Complex Fire, but but also the long-term recovery. So we were fortunate at that meeting to have a local resident by the name of Hank Kramer, who was retired from Washington State Emergency Management Services. And he gave us all some sage advice. And that sage advice was, do your immediate recovery right now, but if your community is going to be stronger and fully recovered, you're going to need to begin a long-term recovery effort. And that effort will take 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. So we continue to meet and we continue to respond vis-a-vis the Red Cross and our local churches and other community organizations. But then we formed a long-term recovery group, the Methow Long-Term Recovery Group, and then also collaborated with Okanogan Long-Term Recovery. So the purpose of that group was really to look at what the gaps were in our community, how were we not prepared, and where did we need to build our resiliency. We were also very fortunate in that a community donor stepped in and funded our work, and this community donor was very committed to community resiliency. And we really wouldn't have been able to achieve everything that we've achieved without that generous support. All of us who serve on long-term recovery have full-time jobs. The manager of Okanogan County Electric Co-op, the director of the Conservancy, the director of Aero Methow Rescue Services. So we were all doing our full-time work and then doing this very important long-term recovery work as well. So we identified 4 priority areas with the help of our community. We needed to build the resiliency and defensibility of our communications. We had no radio station operating. Like I said, we had no phone, we had no internet. We were relying on the radio stations outside of the valley to get information. So we've been working the last 4 years to build that. Housing prices, we already had a kind of a housing shortage and housing affordability issue prior to the Carlton Complex Fire. Rents increased dramatically. So we began looking at accessibility and affordability, and I'm proud to say that we launched an affordable housing trust this last year, and the first 5 homes will be started in just a couple of months. So that's very exciting. Building economic vitality and resiliency. So we lost businesses as a result of the Carlton Complex Fire and then the Okanogan Fire. And so we're looking at how, in a very seasonal economy, how do we build vitality and resiliency? And then finally, a very big gap that was very evident. I served as the public information officer for Aero Methow during the fires, and our neighbors, our neighborhoods were not prepared. So that led us to launch this MethowReady program. So Jen Schumacher is joining me today. She's the coordinator for MethowReady, and she will give you an overview of the program, what we do, and our successes.
Thank you. I have been in Methow Valley full-time since 2012, so half of my year here. Our family has packed up many times to be for fires, so it's something that we're learning to live with. So when this opportunity for MethowReady came up, it touched kind of a personal spot for me because I do live in a planned development here in the valley. And we're friends, but I wouldn't say we're prepared. So this Map Your Neighborhood program is really neat because it's scalable. We don't all live right next to our neighbors. Some of us live 40, 60, 80 acres away from each other. But it's a very simple program that I think every community can implement and just feel a little more comfortable. If disaster does happen, often our resources are stretched and first responders are not going to be able to get there to help you right away. So this MethowReady program was developed and is run in the Seattle area by the Washington State Emergency Management Division, and they have a ton of resources on their website. Roseanne Garand is the one who is in charge of that and is a great tool if you want to implement this in your community. She will get you all the information. There's a lot of training online about how to do these, and I highly recommend it. So here in the Valley, we run MethowReady. It's under Aero Methow Rescue Service at the moment, and we offer neighborhood leader trainings at our site where we train neighborhood leaders to go into their communities and get organized. So, so far in the last 4 years, we've trained over 150 neighborhood leaders in this community, and a lot of our communities are on the path to being organized. And it's a 9-step process that you do with your neighbors. The first 6 steps you do in your own home, where you are prepared with materials, you have all your neighborhood contact information, who in your neighborhood needs extra help if there is a disaster, who in your neighborhood has skills that can help in that disaster. And then there's a process where you have a neighborhood gathering site that you all meet, and then you work together to help each other when the disaster strikes. So it's pretty simple. I keep trying to make it more complicated, but it really is an easy system to implement in your community. So I'm happy to give more information about it. Definitely go online and contact Roseanne if it's something you're interested in doing in your community. And she'll send you boxes and boxes of documents. And one of the most powerful ones is this blue and white information packet, and it has these signs on the back. So if you have a neighborhood meeting site and there is a disaster, you can take these signs and take them up. And one says, hey, I'm okay, I don't need anything right away. And then you can flip it over, and there's a sign that says help, and you can put these up that says, hey, I need help, and the community can come and help. So if first responders can't respond right away, there's a way for you to help each other in that instance. So I'm happy to answer any questions.
Can you repeat that contact information, Roseanne?
Roseanne Garand, it's Garrand is her last name, and I actually might have. I'm happy to get that information to people after this meeting as well, if there's a good way to do it. But if you go online and look at the Washington State Emergency Management Division, it's all on their website, and they have all the tools there that you can download. They have the videos you can watch, and there's a lot of great information on their site, and it's easy to find.
I have a question.
So in your process of doing this is we can send people to a website and they download the stuff and they start the conversation. What were some of the biggest challenges or surprises? And this I think will apply to both of you. as you went through this process to sort of help people prepare? Because I actually have one of those in my house. It's not for fire, it's just for, that potential windstorm or whatever. And everybody has their disaster. It doesn't have to be fire.
I think the biggest challenge always is just taking the first step. So what I would recommend is take the first step. It won't be perfect, but it's the first step. And start talking with your neighbors. Just, sharing. I want to be prepared. I want our neighborhood to be prepared. Let's have a potluck. Let's have several potlucks. And it's, I think one of the challenges, one of the things that we were concerned about after the first year was that we would lose momentum. And we were unfortunate to have a fire in 2015. And I think that really, I apologize for the pun, ignited people to really take this seriously. We had gone a long while in the Methow without a significant fire, and then we had 2 in a row, and now we've had 3 significant fires in the last 4 years. So, and now flooding and windstorm. So we're all paying attention and really talking to our neighbors. Really beginning with our own house. So the first step is, take an inventory of your own home, and then start talking to your neighbors. And just a little bit of preparation goes a really long ways. And there can be a lot of really overwhelming, there's a lot of information out there, but just start simple and just start.
And I would also say, when I first started this, I thought, you have to live in a neighborhood for this to work. But it's really, really flexible. So I live in a neighborhood with maybe 200 homes. And so some neighbors have organized into just 2 homes, and some neighbors have organized into just a block. So it doesn't have to be your whole neighborhood. It can be a smaller group of people, which actually is more strategic and tactical. Or if you live on a lot of acreage, it may just be your next neighbor. So we did have someone do the training this week who lived in an apartment complex. So there's a lot, everyone lives in different communities and have different needs, so it is flexible that way. So I recommend looking into it and trying it out, and lots of potlucks, even if it is just you and your neighbor.
Question. Now you spoke of the loss of electricity. That's a big item. Mm-hmm. Do you have preparations in the larger scale of things for that kind of infrastructure? If you have that kind of disaster situation and you lose it, what's the alternative?
So as a result of the 2014 fire and the 2015 fire, some of our municipalities have enhanced their backup generation capacity. The co-op, our electric co-op, enhanced their communication structure. We, Methow Valley Long-Term Recovery, provided backup generation to a community space at Twist Works that our local radio station can broadcast from. Our newspaper, if they lose backup generation, can do their work from. Community members can come and power up their phones and devices and whatnot and get community information. And then we also funded a project that the Forest Service is doing up at McClure, which is where our repeaters are and some of our major telecommunication infrastructure. So that site has backup generation, some thinning up there so it's more defensible space. So there have been a number of steps, and there's still more to do, but I can say, in the last 4 years, we are much more resilient, our systems are much more redundant, and we are better prepared for future disasters. And it's something, we tend to lose power a fair amount here in the Methow. I own a business, and all of these things require practice. So every time I have to hook up the generator, It's like, okay, now what do I need to do? And so again, you kind of make your checklist. All of those simple things are part of the preparation. So the conversion to backup generation to all of the backup systems are simpler, take less time, are safer, both in our homes and in our businesses.
Have you been training CERT teams as part of either the county or the town?
Our Twist Police Department did a CERT training. Yeah. So this is, one part of the solution. So one of the things that we discovered after the 2014 fires is that all of our first responders were very, very busy attending to the fires and responding to those very critical needs. So CERT is a part of the part of the solution, being prepared in our homes, being prepared in our neighborhoods. At Aero Methow, we were fielding questions about, what do I do with my livestock? Where do I take my pets? Can you go check on my grandmother? I haven't heard from her. I can't get there because there's a fire between me and her. So all of those things, we have to kind of go to the place of thinking about the worst case scenario and then backing up and putting in kind of the plans and checklists for disasters.
Did you set up some sort of program or some spot that people could meet these disasters, or they had to check on friends, or they're all supposed to meet anywhere? You got anything that? How'd you do it?
Yeah, so part of the Map Your Neighborhood program, the MethowReady program, is that, whether it's a drainage, because we have a lot of drainages in the Methow, or it's a planned development, or it's a neighborhood in one of our towns, part of the program is to identify the meeting places. And that's where we all come and we check in and say, okay, how are you doing? Where's so-and-so? Oh, they're out of town. And then if somebody's missing, we go and check on them and make sure their propane's off or whatever. And then we also do have community gathering places as well. And those are identified at a higher level, but well known. That we have a community center in Twist, and we have the Red Barn in Winthrop. We have Twist Works in Twist. So and the Mazama store in Mazama, Blue Star Coffee. So there are kind of official gathering places, and then there are the unofficial gathering places, and we use all of those different locations to distribute information. And when the Forest Service is here with their different incident command teams, they use those locations as well. Yeah.
Julie, have your preparedness or neighborhood meetings address this sensitive issue of fireworks at 4th of July? Fireworks around homes, fireworks around wooded areas? We're
fortunate here in that fireworks are banned in a lot of our locations. And people largely understand. But I'll let Jan answer specifically for MethowReady.
We don't. It's a good question, because if they are banned, but I know in my neighborhood people do shoot them off because they come from somewhere else and don't realize that they should not be shooting fireworks here. So most often if people that live here know you're shooting fireworks, they will come and tell you, ask you to stop. But it's not something we have discussed in the neighborhood meetings, just because most of the people in those neighborhoods know not to do that. They can do it in the winter. In preparedness in general, MethowReady also does individual family preparedness and individual preparedness. We talk about 8 steps of preparing yourself and your family, go bags, inventorying your house. Actually, United Policyholders is a great tool online for insurance questions. They also have an app where you can inventory your entire home with your phone. So you can just grab it and have it with you, which I know a lot of people from the fires have said they wish they had inventoried their home better so they knew what was there and what was lost. So I'm kind of segueing to something different, but the fireworks is a good one to bring up. Thank you.
This is an uninformed question. On the west side, every time we get some winds and blow down lines, et cetera, it seems like the cell phones are still working. When you mentioned lack of communication, I'm assuming your cell phones are still going strong here.
No, we lost cell phone coverage as well. And it took a couple of days, but essentially all of our cell towers that they have backup generation, but the fuel ran out and there was no way to get to those sites. We had, the fire spanned enormous difference, and Carlene will talk about that a little bit later. And then we had a big windstorm, so it was a series of events. So it was really inconceivable what happened. And we were out of power, phone service, cell phone service, internet for about 10 days. And some people for many more weeks beyond that are in the far reaches and the upper valleys. So, Ken?
And 2 highways were closed.
And we had 2 highways closed. So we were also facing an issue of sheltering in place if need be. So it was, we have never seen anything like this. Just about everything that could go wrong, just about, not everything, but just about everything that could go wrong went wrong. So we learned a lot.
On communications, I was wondering if you were developing the MVLTR radio.
And we do. We have a group here that does ham radios, and they offer trainings here, and that is all.
Just step away from that other one. I think there's an interference there.
And also, we have ham radios at Aero Methow, so those have definitely been a resource and are being developed into more of a usable resource in case of an emergency.
And the amateur ham club existed before the 14 fire, but we really became more organized and coordinated after the fire. So police department now utilizes ham, Aero Methow Fire District. So in the event that we lose communication on all levels, again, we can utilize the ham. So that's been great. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate your attention.